Hi guys, and welcome to Gidget Reviews, and to this half series, you can say, review of the Shannara Chronicles. So I saw the first 4 episodes of this TV show that is actually an MTV TV show, and what do I think about it? Well, I was really excited when the first time I saw the trailers. Yeah, what can I say? I mean, it's a pretty good show overall. It has amazing special effects. As a story, it's a very good, interesting story, but for now, I just don't think it's presented the best way possible. It's a little bit like too much explanation at times, presented by the character of Manu Bennett, who, by the way, is from Xena, from Spartacus, from Arrow. I mean, he's been in some things, and he's pretty cool. He's one of the most awesome actors you can watch these days, really. So, if it wasn't for him, the show would not be that strong. Now, it's really not that strong. I mean, compared with Game of Thrones, which is the closest thing that you can compare it with, the Shannara Chronicles it's a more colorful show. It's a more light show. It's light. It's very like, yeah, there's some blood. There's some yucky stuff, like I like to call them. There's no sex or anything. I mean, it's more like PG-13 with some chopping the heads of monsters, kind of thing. So if you expect something like this, like Game of Thrones, you're going to be very disappointed, maybe because it's a lot lighter show. It's for pretty much everyone. So yeah, I think that this is very cool that this show is pretty much for everyone, because Game of Thrones is not for the taste of everybody, and I struggle sometimes watching it. Although it's not like Spartacus, which in every possible episode or a minute you are constantly stressed by a whole bunch of things. So yeah, this show, I really have to tap into the story a little bit, actually, to explain it a bit more. Every episode, I mean, the first 4 episodes that I watched, and the first one, which is actually one, I mean, the first and the second episodes are just one episode merged into one movie that is like 1 hour and 20 minutes long, not counting the commercials, of course. It's just like a story. It's presented well. The actors, some of them are not really that good. I mean, they are getting better with each episode, I have to say. All the other actors, basically, the younger actors, they are relatively new. The main guy, the blonde guy that you probably seen on the trailers and posters, I've seen him when I was little, when I watched Hannah Montana, when I watched things like Zoe 101. So yeah, when I was a kid, I had a little bit of crush actually on him. I liked him pretty much. He was very cute back then. Now, not that much. And I think that he is an actor with not a lot of, experience, and you can tell that. But he's really trying. So I will give them that. I mean, with each episode, he is getting better. The main female character, she's so, you can say, like, very sweet, very beautiful, very lean. She actually is so tiny that I could never imagine her being like a protector or a warrior that she's supposed to be in the series. For the story, she is like so thin. I'm just watching her and I'm like, probably the wind is going to take her out, let alone those huge monsters that they call Furies. It is just kind of ridiculous when you see her, and when you think about it, she's supposed to be some kind of hero. So let me first start a bit with the better things about the show. So as I said, as a story, it's a pretty interesting story that could go millions of ways and really get bigger and bigger. As the look of the show is one of the most beautiful shows you can ever ever see. I mean, if Xena was filmed now, it's going to look something like this, I suppose, because Xena is preparing to film. I mean, the show is green lighted, hopefully, and the script is already preparing from the writers of Lost, no less, from one of the writers of the show Lost. That's another thing. I mean, they used New Zealand because the show is actually filmed in New Zealand. The most beautiful parts of New Zealand they could possibly find, as some of those parts I'm sure actually were from Xena. So the show kind of took me back to Xena for a while. And there was a river that I'm sure it's from Xena. It's just the same river. Some of the beach areas, you can tell. But anyway, I mean, most of you that haven't seen Xena, or at least haven't seen Xena as much as I have, won't even notice any of that. But as a story is not as strong as something like Game of Thrones or Xena. I mean, Game of Thrones is not perfect, but it's kind of, it's more deep. And this here, it's not that it isn't like, deep or potential to be deeper, but it's just too early to tell. Honestly, it's the first season, and everyone are kind of getting their ground. Everyone are developing, but there are some things that are really silly in this show. As far as looks go, as far as my new band goes, even the show is perfect. But as far as some of the little things in it, there is some things that don't make so much sense. So basically, as every show, or some of fantasy shows that you've seen, there's always something illogical about someone's powers, how those powers are used, when to use them, and so on. And I don't want to spoil anything, but I maybe go into spoilers just for a bit, but I'm going to warn you, because I do have to explain some stuff for the people that already seen the show and wonder a thing that is not so logical about it. But to sum it all up, I'm just going to say that the show just lacks some things, mostly logic, as I said, and it's one of those shows that you must watch because it's not bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a show that you want to see. It's a show that you want to just check out the next episode as soon as possible, something that you would love to binge watch. Actually, it's one of those things. So I totally recommend it. I totally do. If you're a fan that used to, much better sophisticated way of telling a story, presenting the characters, pull your emotional strings, in the best way possible, this is not going to satisfy you completely, but it is something that is must watch overall. So I totally recommend it. And now, when I finish with this, I just want to talk about a little bit of spoilers. But first, let me give a score to it. I think for now, at least for the first 4 episodes, because this show is going to have 10 episodes for the first season. Unfortunately, I always hate that because I have to wait so much for the next one. But okay, for the first almost half of the season, I will say that this show is like 9 out of 10. Or 8.7, 8.5 at its worst, out of 10. So go and see it, guys, if you can. Do whatever it takes to see it. Very entertaining, and you'll have a feast for your eyes. So yeah, and now to go a little bit into spoilers of what I really don't like about the show. And once again, that's a bit of strong word to say that I don't, because I do like it very much. So that whole thing with Manu Bennett's character, Avalon, or Avanon, I think it was Avalon, I don't know, I will check, sorry. He's a droid, right? And in the beginning of the show, he was presented as this one survivor droid, a badass. He went out of deep sleep, in order to preserve himself, and he will awake only when something happens, when that old tree starts dying, and he did. And after that, he's presented very, very powerful, really. But after that, we are introduced to the idea that magic comes with a price. And he did use magic all his life. He did use magic to knock down and just blew away, really, all those soldiers in the palace. And he didn't have, any consequences when he did that. But then he tried to rip a big, huge piece of rock from the wall in a cave, and he had his hand burned pretty severely. So I was like, well, if he does that often, he will get pretty big, damage on his whole body. He did say, though, that magic has different effect on everyone. But then we saw the main character that sorry guys, I'm not the one that remembers names pretty much. I will in time, of course, when I'm watching the show. So he said to the blonde guy that he will have also consequences, and when he used the Elfstones he did, his hand was burned as well. Not to the extent that, Allanon was burned, but still burned. So does that mean that he will have burns now every time that he will use those rocks? It seems that the power of the stones affects him the same way. Anyway, that's not even the biggest thing yet. And then, Allanon has all those powers that he tries to not showcase. And there's a guy in the palace, the second oldest son of the king, doubts everything constantly. He doesn't believe in anything. It was like just ridiculous. That whole belief system is also ridiculous because they come from a place that magic was everyday thing, and after that the magic disappeared from the world, and he knows that story. But in the same time, he doesn't believe that magic is back again. It's like super impossible thing, even though he sees Allanon and his dad, the king, says, oh, that's the druid who once, fought for us and all that. Therefore, he knows magic. He comes from magic. And he's still like, I don't believe this guy. Who the hell is that guy? It's like he doesn't believe what his father says at all. It's like he's so clueless about his history, his heritage. It's just ridiculous, the whole thing. It wasn't so long ago that his son will be like, who the hell is that? And I know better, Dad. Just let me lead. You're old man now, Dad. It's like he doesn't know his father, that he's man with a lot of, brains and with wisdom. Anyone can say that, even if they met the king for like 2 seconds. Anyone can say that this is a man with a lot of wisdom, a man that led this kingdom for so many years. And his son that is right next to him, his whole life, he all of a sudden doubts everything that his father's saying, doubts everything that Allanon is saying, doesn't believe still when all those things start happening around them. I just don't see the logic in that. How big of an ass you have to be so clueless and blind to everything. I just don't get that. Also, there was a changeling, that's another word for shapeshifter in the palace, sent by the biggest, worst ex-droid, by the way, in the world. And that changeling was constantly in the palace, and of course because it's she said that she's using all her power to hide from Allanon. And Allanon, of course, didn't sense her. But when all those people started to drop dead, including the chosen ones, didn't even cross his mind that this could be actually a changeling. He never thought of that. It's like he doesn't know that druid, that demon you can call him. It's like he doesn't know evil. He's like he can't predict what evil will do now. He has no idea. It's so obvious. Of course that if they have changeling, they will send changeling to pretend to be anyone in the palace or anything that is alive and kill everyone. It's so ridiculous that he didn't thought of that first when people start dropping dead all around and no one saw anything. And he only thought of that at the end when, that guy that they found in the third episode, yeah, I think. Only then when that guy showed up and he starts seeing people dying and he touched the body of that amazingly Superman looking boy that I was so rooting for, but unfortunately he did die first, the boyfriend of the main character. When he touched him, he saw, her, the princess, and that's when Avalon was like, oh my god, it's a changeling that's responsible for all this. Well, good morning to you, Avalon. Welcome to this magical world in which you haven't been a part of. Do you have an amnesia or something? So yeah, that is stupid. Any wise person that was on a, some kind of a higher spiritual position, because druid is like someone with a lot of power, which means also mentally, physically, and all that is intertwined with magic. So he can't be so clueless. He just can't. That's just ridiculous. So convenient for the plot. I just don't buy it. It's stupid as hell, and I'm watching it and I'm in disbelief. Like, how can this be? It's kind of so obvious. Also, his character, although I really, really like him, as I said, he's explaining all the time. He's explaining everything. He's like a, explaining exposition type of character all the time. This is happening. Well, this is because this is happening, and he said this, and that's because this. And yeah, of course, we have no idea what Shannara Chronicles are. So yeah, we need some explanation. I mean, some people that read the books, because this is a show that comes from a book. Although I heard that some people say that there is nothing like the book, or is very far from the real story anyway. So I understand that he has to explain some stuff, or somebody has to explain some stuff, but it's like too much. It's all that his character has become, in a way. And of course, he has to explain everything to Will. Oh yeah, the blonde guy, the main character, Will. Like, his name is Will. It's kind of, it starts to get too much at times, because that is all he does. All he does, explanation, walking around, looking at things, trying to not use magic. And the way that he was wounded, even from that fury, I don't know, it was kind of too easy. We didn't saw anything, and he couldn't heal himself with all that power that he possessed. He can't heal himself. It's just stupid. One of the reasons that I like Xena so much, that's just one of the tiny reasons, because there's like there's like a lot of reasons that I love Xena so much, is that everything was explained in a way that no one's walking around explaining stuff. Everything is made so well that you just know everything you're supposed to know about the characters, about the story, what the hell is going on, what's the motivation of the characters, of the bad guy, of Xena, of Gabrielle, what everyone are thinking at the same time. You don't need too much of anything. Everything is made perfectly, and you also have a connection to all the characters immediately, just without any effort. It just made so naturally. So that is the problem with most nowadays shows, because the way that they approach things is not always the best, and you're not getting that invested in it, because some of the stuff are so illogical. Oh yeah, that's the thing actually that I wanted to tell you. In Xena, you don't have something that you're sitting like and you're thinking, boy, why doesn't like Xena go and fix this problem this way, or why doesn't Xena go and fix the problem this way, and why she has this and she doesn't use it, or why this, why that. You never have this moment in Xena. The way that this show is made, the way that Shannara Chronicles is made, and most of today's movies, most of today's other shows are made, you're seeing that particular character has something, or he's supposed to have something of a power or knowledge, and they like don't use them. They're just like all of a sudden have amnesia for some reason, or they're just unaware of their own knowledge, and they're unaware of the situation where they are presented like such a badass at the beginning, you know. So this is a problem with a lot of shows, not only Shannara. So that is basically it. I mean, my gripes with the show, and once again, the main character, Everly, I think her name was, she is so beautiful and tender, and she doesn't look like a hero to me. I mean, if anything, she looks like a princess, and she is a princess, but not a warrior princess like Xena. She is just so light and so thin. I have no idea what power she's supposed to be developing, and now that by the end of episode 4 they send out her and Will on this quest to bring the seed of the dying tree to Bloodfire, whatever it is, so another tree can be created from this, because the old one is dying. They can't save it, but I mean, they send out someone that ran through a gauntlet and managed to, go through it and survive. At the same time, she's not physical at all. Anyone can beat her, like slap her across the face, and she's going to be done. It's kind of ridiculous. So I hope that she's going to develop some kind of powers, some physical strength, some some abilities, because she's clueless to everything. She looks clueless when she holds the sword. I don't know. She had this fight within the tree with Will. I mean, with something that looked like Will that the tree created for her, so she can fight and she can prove that she's ready to kill everything and everyone just to get to that place and bring the sea. I mean, complete the mission. And she didn't look convincing in that. She was still looking very weak. So I'm hoping that she's going to develop and not be this character, because right now I don't believe in her in any possible way that she could do anything really if someone doesn't help her, doesn't save her life. She's weak as hell right now. And this quest is already begun. I mean, all the demons are already popping out everywhere, and she's not ready. I mean, are supposed to be like the heroes ready for this? Or they are just not, because they are heroes. They're like 2 steps back behind evil, and they have this advantage, and they're still supposed to be winning. I don't know, but it's probably something like this, because it's right now it kind of looks ridiculous. So guys, overall, Shannara Chronicles, a very, very good show. As I said, a must-see show. I have to say all those things because they're not so little things, If the shows can correct some of those logical stuff, just because it's easy for them to create the show this way, something that Smallville did before. Kryptonite everywhere. Let's cripple Superman as much as possible so he cannot be Superman, really. It's just crippling the whole show, this whole story. It's downgrading everything, and it's afraid to show real strength and power, and I hate this. I hate this in every show or movie that I've seen it. So I hate this approach, but I am going to give, of course, the show a chance and see if they'll lead the show somewhere. But if I'm seeing like the main character, I mean Everly, slapped around like she's nothing, I'm going to be very, very angry. Also Will needs to get a grip as well. And Avalon. Yeah, Avalon. Like, look, I'm a badass, and 2 seconds later I'm lying on a rock waiting for some magical power to heal me. So he's not covered at all. I mean, he could die in a minute. What a badass, Okay guys, so this is my review so far of the Shannara Chronicles. I'm going to talk about more about this show later on, if it gets better or worse or something happens that really strikes me, So thank you very much for watching, guys. Please share your thoughts down below. Subscribe if you haven't, and if you like my content, and if you like to see my future videos. Until next time with Gary G Reviews. Best games for the best prizes on g2a.com and citykeys.com. If you like to subscribe, you can click the button to the right, and you can also check out my gaming channel, GettyG Gaming.